This is Doug DeMuro, and today I'm going to give you an update on my Audi RS2 station wagon and all of my other cars. Let's see what's broken down lately, what's been having issues. Let's talk about that stuff. But I'm going to start with and focus on the RS2 because I bought it like a year and a half ago and I haven't made really a single video about it basically since I got it. I was telling you all about it, how excited I was. You might be wondering what has gone on with that and how reliable has a 30-year-old Audi been. So today, let's talk about it and the other cars. Let's get started. Before I get started, be sure to check out Cars and Bids, which is my enthusiast car auction website for cool cars from the modern era, now with free listings. You can list your cool car for free and auction it on Cars and Bids. And we've had some fantastic sales recently, including this Mercedes-AMG E63 wagon, which sold for almost $120,000, this gorgeous Mazda RX-7 FD, which brought more than $52,000, and this 2012 Nissan GTR, which sold for $68,000 with some great modifications. If you're looking to buy or sell a cool enthusiast car from the modern era, Cars and Bids is the place to do it, with daily auctions and great selection at carsandbids.com. Okay, so my RS2. Now, as a little refresher, this is my little blue Audi station wagon, and the RS2 was a Porsche and Audi collaboration. The two brands got together and created this car. Porsche at the time was in some financial trouble in the early 90s, and Audi needed kind of performance credibility. They needed to prove to the world that they could, play on the same level as BMW, Mercedes-Benz. They wanted someone who could give them some credibility. So they got together and it really was a perfect match. And they made the RS2, which was one of the very first high-performance station wagons. It was 94, 95, basically. Only about 2,600 of these were made, and it's really special in the history of both of these brands, but especially Audi. It's the first ever Audi RS car, which is obviously now a line that there's a lot of Audi RS cars, and is one of the first fast wagons of all time, and it was the first car to use Audi's famous Nogaro blue color. At the time it was called RS Blue, and then they changed it later to Nogaro Blue when they wanted to use it on non-RS cars. But anyway, the RS2 was never sold in the United States, but I really love this car. I love the story. I love fast wagons, wanted this car, and so I really wanted one. I imported it from Canada. The car was sold new in Germany, then it was in Japan for most of its life. It's been in Canada for the last 10 years, and now it's in the United States. So it's really moving from country to country and continent to continent. So here's the deal on my RS2. I bought it back in October of 2020, so I've had it for over a year and a half now, and I bought it with about 152,000 kilometers on it. It is now just under 158,000 kilometers. So for Americans, British, that translates to 94,000 miles when I bought it, 98,000 miles today. So I've done about 4,000 miles, or about 6,000 kilometers in roughly 18 months, which is not huge, but I have like 4 special cars that I'm kind of cycling through and 6 total cars, and I have no commute. So 4,000 miles in 18 months is pretty good for given this situation. So the reason that I've driven it relatively often, considering, it's just a pleasure car, is I try to squeeze in driving it basically anytime I can. Whenever I can drive it, I do. And I enjoy it a lot. It's been so much fun. And I really want to use it in any possible situation. In fact, I used the RS2 to bring home my baby from the hospital when he was first born, thereby becoming the first baby in America, I'm sure, ever to be brought home from the hospital in an Audi RS2. That's a pretty cool event to be able to do that. That was back in September of 21. And frankly, I also just daily drive the car. I use it for baby transport all the time. I have a car seat permanently in it. I use it for dog transport. He rides in it. It's great. It was made as a family car. I use it as a family car. But you're probably wondering, has it been problematic? It's a 30-year-old Audi. What issues have cropped up? And the answer is surprisingly none. 18 months, surprisingly no issues. Well, sort of. Okay, so powertrain. I've had no problems at all with the powertrain of the RS2. This doesn't actually surprise me all that much. People who just think 30-year-old Audi think you're going to have all sorts of issues, but if you get into the details and if you know these cars, you'll know that this turbo 2.2-liter 5-cylinder was kind of a famously robust powertrain in Audis from this era. And people have boosted the hell out of them and gotten crazy, crazy power numbers out of them and torque, and they've also gone crazy long mileage distances. So my car, just under 98,000 miles, is nothing for one of these turbo 5-cylinders. You consistently see S6s from this era, same motor but less power, with 200, 250,000 miles. So I'm not too surprised about the mileage. These engines can do big numbers, and this one is doing it. And I think that's in part due to the fantastic engine, and also in part due to the prior owner of this car, who just kept it incredibly, incredibly well. But beyond the powertrain, and obviously that's the most important part because I'm driving the car, beyond the powertrain, the rest of the car has had, let's just say, a few issues. A lot of them have been electrical. The brake light warning comes on periodically. It'll tell me there's a brake light out. There is no brake light out. And it's not like consistent. It'll come on here and there to let me know one's out. I go check, there's no brake light out. So, okay. The windows periodically work and periodically don't. Here's a crazy one. If I haven't driven the car in a while, the windows don't work for a while. So if I haven't driven the car in a week, it takes about 20 minutes of driving for the windows to work again. If I haven't driven it in 2 weeks, it takes about 45 minutes of driving for the windows to work again. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but it's the truth and it is consistent. Ever since I bought the car, pretty much that is the deal with the windows. It's very, very unusual. And occasional other warning lights pop on and don't really make all that much sense. One will come on telling me the parking brake is on when it clearly is not. That's like once every month or two. You have that kind of stuff. So old Audi electrical issues, I haven't really bothered to try to fix a lot of it. Most of it's not a big deal and doesn't come up very, very frequently, but that's what's going on. And other than that, that car's been great. I drive it everywhere and nobody has any clue what it is. In the 18 months I have owned that car, I have had one individual person come up to me and tell me that they know what it is. Wow, an RS2. One time that's happened. Otherwise, people recognize me in the car sometimes and that sort of thing, but nobody has ever, it just totally flies under the radar. Even for informed car enthusiasts, it is quite an obscure car. But other cars might be wondering, well, what is going on? So my Land Rover Defender, my 2020 new green Land Rover Defender, is now over 30,000 miles. I bought this car the same week I bought the RS2, so it's about 18 months ago. And it is completely dead reliable. I use it all the time on long drives, up to Phoenix, up to LA, Vegas here and there. And I've driven it across the country 4 times. I'm going to do it again this summer, across and back. So it'll have 6 cross-country trips under its belt by the end of this year. And it's been great. It's been a really, really great, mile-eating, good vehicle. I'm not as pumped and enthralled and excited about it as I was when it first came out. You're seeing them everywhere now. If you're in a big city, Defenders have gotten pretty common. But it works well, it drives well, and I can't really complain. 2 issues worth pointing out about this car. 1, windshield problems. Other Defender owners out there are going to be shaking their heads. They know what I'm talking about. The windshields are upright in this car, let's say, and they are very susceptible due to that for rock chips and other problems. When I was driving this car across the country the first time right after I bought it, I got a rock chip right in the windshield and it started to spread and I was very scared. I was like, oh my God, I gotta replace it. And I called the dealer and I get it replaced as soon as possible. Well, guess what? There are 3 more rock chips, big ones, already in my second windshield. And I have decided no more replacing the windshield until I go to sell the car. It is a heated windshield. It costs $1,500 to replace or something crazy like that, maybe more. And it's expensive. And I've noticed on other new Defenders, when I see them around, there's a guy in my neighborhood who's got one a few blocks over, big crack going across the entire windshield. And so that's an issue with the car. And honestly, it's an issue with this car too, the G-Wagon. It's an issue with Hummers. Anything with an upright, flat windshield, you're just asking for stuff to smash into your window. I got a buddy who has a G-Wagon and I had to replace 3 windshields in the span of 1 year. And I'm not gonna bother with that stuff, but that's the kind of thing that happens and the Defender is not immune. The other issue I've been having with the Defender is the power sunroof isn't working currently and has had trouble working generally. It worked when I bought the car for a while, then it stopped working, had the dealer fix it, stopped working again almost immediately. They said I took it back, they said there was a part delay, and I just haven't gone back and done it. But supposedly I can get that fixed. But other than that, car's been great. This car, G-Wagon convertible, my G500 Cabriolet. This was my daily driver. I bought it and I was using it pretty much every day for the first, I've had it now 2.5 years, for the first like year and a half. But then I got the RS2 and I just love driving manual. I just miss fun manual cars, and the RS2 really is that. And so the RS2 is a little bit more familyable than this car with back doors. And so I'm not driving the G as much. I think I drove it 13,000 miles in the first 2 years, but in the last 7 months, I've only driven it 1,000 miles. I'm just not using it all that much like I used to. There's also the factor that values of these cars have absolutely shot up. It's insane. It's the most bizarre and unusual vehicle, but I paid $133,000 when I bought it. And I think it's worth double that in 2.5 years. And the market for these Gs is really, really, really hot right now. G-Wagons in general, but the convertibles specifically, and particularly the power top convertibles like my car. So I've been a little bit anxious to use it as much as I have. And then also it's just not as practical, but it hasn't really been giving me any trouble. I had an incident where it had to get towed. This was like a year ago, maybe more. And I talked about that in a previous video, but other than that, it's been great, been driving well. These are reliable cars. It's a very reliable powertrain, and I don't really have a lot of concerns about the G. Other stuff. Not much going on with the other two cars. My yellow Land Rover Defender is living on the East Coast now. I have moved it across the country. It will not be living with me in California anymore, at least for the foreseeable future. I just did a few repairs on that car, and it seems to be going well and driving and doing its thing. Nothing too much to talk about there. The Ford GT has also been completely uncomplaining. No issues, no problems. I've been driving that car a lot too. I still use it all the time. Typically at least every couple weeks I'll go somewhere, further away, and when it's here in the garage, I'll try to use it just about every day. It's a great car. It's a lot of fun, and it's incredibly reliable, surprisingly, and I really enjoy it, and I don't really have any complaints about the good old Ford GT. But there you go. That is my car update. If you're wondering if I'm buying anything new or getting anything new, the answer is no, not for a while. I'm pretty happy with the garage as it sits. I'm out of space. I don't really have more space to park cars, and there's nothing else I really want right now. If I was gonna do anything, it would probably be to replace my daily driver Defender. When I bought that car, I bought an extended warranty to get it up to 100,000 miles of warranty, but since buying it, I have now been driving a lot more than I was back then. I go up to Los Angeles a lot, Orange County, it's often 2, 3, 4 hour trips in heavy traffic, and I just want a car with better self-driving, just driver assist as they call it. I don't think this is gonna happen anytime soon. I think the Defender will probably last at least another year or two, and probably get it up to 50, 60,000 miles, but I think 100 was probably a lofty goal, and I don't think I'll make that. But other than that, I don't know, I'm pretty happy with the cars I have. Everything is crazy expensive right now, so I'm not really looking at adding anything. And that's a garage update from Doug.